Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for the third night of the Summer Youth Series. Tonight we'll be hearing from Eli Hurt, the youth minister at the Franklin Church of Christ, and he's going to be talking to us about parting the Red Sea. Please stay around for some more announcements at the end, and we'll see you after that.
What's up, everyone? This is Eli Hurt. I'm the youth and family minister at the Franklin Church of Christ, and I'm so thankful for this opportunity to be speaking with you all today. I want to thank guys like Neil and Chris before me. I want to thank Nick and David for this opportunity to be speaking to you all this afternoon. Today's story is going to be about Moses and what a great leader and man of faith that he was. But before we get into that story, I want to talk about two very key themes that I think you're going to see present in today's story and in the ones to follow. The first theme is simply faith. Faith is so important to us as Christians. In fact, it may be the very cornerstone of the Christian belief, right? In Matthew, Jesus looks at Peter and says, "Upon this rock I will build my church." Why did he choose Peter? I would argue that it was because of his great faith. The Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter 11 that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And I think that we need to be careful as Christians today, because scientists and leaders, podcasters will tell us that the Christian faith is simply a blind leap in the dark, right? That there's no evidence for a God. But I'm here to tell you today that that simply is not so. The Bible tells us, and what could possibly be one of my favorite verses in Psalms chapter 46:10, he says, "Be still and know," right? We can be still and know that there is a God in heaven and that he's looking out for us, right? I think it's so cool in thinking about this theme in storms and in faith. What's one of the things that they tell us to do when a storm is coming, right? Be still. You're not to get in your car and to drive off, right? Find a safe place, be still, and know that God is going to take care of us through the storm. The second theme I want to present to you today is simply the power of God, right? We serve an omnipotent God, an omniscient God, an all-knowing and ever-present God. And his power is made evident in the lives of guys like Moses, of Paul, of Elijah, right, that we've already seen in lessons from the past couple weeks, right? And I have a cool story about the power of God that I'd like to share with you this afternoon, because I think nothing more evident about the power of God than that of a thunderstorm, right? Jeremiah chapter 10 tells us that God stretched open the heavens, right? He causes thunder with the rain, and the wind comes from his storehouses, right? So what better way to experience God's power than through a natural thunderstorm? And see, today I realize this because as a boy growing up, I was scared of thunderstorms, right? The radar would come on the TV and we would look for our safe place in the home to hide from that storm. All the while my father, he would go to the front porch and he would sit on his rocking chair and he would watch as the storm blowed over our house. And as a kid, I didn't understand, right? I didn't understand why he would put himself in danger, right? But now as an adult, I understand that in that storm, he was able to see and experience the power of God, right? He was not in control, just as we are not in control, but God is in control during the storms in our lives. Moses is a great faith hero in the Old Testament. If you don't know his story, I'll try to provide a little context for you today. Moses is born a baby, and his mom, in order to protect him, puts him in a basket and sends him down the river. He's then discovered by Pharaoh's daughter and is raised as an Egyptian. It doesn't take long for Moses to see how poorly his people are treated in Egypt, that he murders an Egyptian man and then leaves. God then calls Moses through the burning bush to come back and save his people. And it's through the 10 plagues that God, through Moses, persuades Pharaoh to allow the Israelites to leave. Pharaoh decides to let the Israelites go, and all 2 million men, women, and children led by Moses, make their way out of Egypt. They're led by a gray cloud by day and a fiery pillar by night, provided by God. They make their way out of Egypt and they find themselves trapped in this wilderness because they're at the banks of the Red Sea. The Israelites began to doubt their leadership. They doubted Moses and they were starting to lose faith in God. God had hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and Pharaoh, realizing what he was losing, he had had these guys in slavery for over 400 years. Realizing what he was losing, he sent 600 chariots to chase after the Israelite people. And they were stuck on the banks of the Red Sea with their backs against the wall. Nowhere to go. But Moses, a man of great faith, reached out to God, and God told him to lift up his rod and that the wind would part the sea and that the people would be able to walk on dry land. As the Israelites begin to cross the Red Sea, a really cool point in this story happens. God sends the cloud to separate his Israelites from the Egyptian chariots as they cross. The Egyptians with their hardened hearts pursue the Israelites through the Red Sea, and in the morning, God returns the waters back to its original depths, washing away all of the Pharaoh's men. So God delivered the people of Israel. And that's where their story ends today and ours begins. 3 takeaways that I want you to take home from this lesson. Number 1, I love to share this with my kids at Franklin. And I'm not sure where I first heard it, but I feel like we may get discouraged as Christians when we hear names like Moses and Abraham and Paul and Timothy, because we're not those people, right? Maybe we don't see ourselves as that type of leader or as that talented. But what I think is key for us to remember is that God doesn't call the equipped, but he equips the called, right? So Moses was a murderer before he went and rescued the people of Israel, right? And so what God does with this murder with Moses is he equips him with the tools necessary to do what he was called to do, right? And I believe that if we are faithful Christians, God will do the same in our lives, right? God tells us that if we have just the faith of a mustard seed, we can say to that mountain, move, and it'll move. So my challenge to you is that if you have faith, and if you put it into practice, watch how God will equip you to do his will in your life. Number 2, right, is that obedience, right, or faith in God doesn't make us storm-proof. Moses was a really faithful and obedient man, but he still faced many challenges throughout his life, right? All of our faith heroes in the Bible lived hard and difficult lives. In James chapter 2 we read, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you face trials of many kinds," right? We should look at these storms and anticipate them because they're inevitable. They're coming. Anticipate them, look to them, and grow through our faith through these storms. And then finally, number 3, storms require faith, and faith requires action, right? We have to do something. What are you doing, right? We have to study, we have to learn, meditate on this book, and put that into action. So what does that look like in our middle school? What does that look like in our high school? What does it look like on our ball team, or even in our church youth group, right? Take what you've learned from this book and apply it. Be a friend, be kind, show God's love wherever you go, right? Be faithful and watch as his power will work in your life. Just like with Moses, God can do some amazing and powerful things in your life if you will just invite him in. Guys, it's been a real blessing to be able to be with you today. I'm so glad that you were willing to tune in. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson, and I hope that you will continue to log on next week and the week following. It's been a great time. We'll see you guys next week.